Right then, on the lathe we have a piece of Malaysian Acacia. It's really pale, so it should be nice. It's 12 inches by 3.5, can't remember. Yeah, 3.5. And this is the first time we've been back on the lathe since I had the operation. So we're going to be taking it easy, which is why I'm doing this easy bowl. So we get on with this, and then for the Yorkshire Grit Bit, I'll tell you what happened. So first thing I'm going to do obviously is round this off. Round this off, face it off, and put a mortise in it. Still feel a bump. It's amazing how rusty you get. So it's about 2.5 months since I touched the lathe. There. And it's amazing how kind of rusty you get. Yeah, it feels right. And it's a little bit dusty, so I'm going to put the air shield on because I've upgraded the dust collection in the shop here. And there's a video coming up on it. Right, I've already shot half of it, and I'll be shooting the other half during doing this, so you can have a look at it then. It'll just be an extra video, it won't be a normal weekly video. And I want a slight foot on this. So drop it back down. Well, the thorns would be about there. Close it to the work again. And then we go into that foot. And knock the panel off. Is this a sharpen? Put the tool, that's where I want it. Now I'm going to go to a pull cut because I won't be able to get in there on a push. Slightly high for pull. The quality of that pull cut is terrible. Yeah, that's all over the place. It's going to take some practice to get that back. But the push cut's still good. Yeah, it's a good curve. Shape. Shape isn't too bad. Right. Shape is not too bad. Right, now clean this up. Definitely rusty. Yeah, that's better. Still some tool marks on that belt sand out. As I said, I'm quite rusty at this. Right, so I'll set up for sanding and I will be back for the Yorkshire Grit Bit. But I'll tell you what happened to me. So I'll see you in a minute. Alright then. This week's Yorkshire Grit Bit. It's not like the usual story legend thing. It's I'm gonna tell you what happened to me. Right, so as a lot of people know, if you're new to the channel a while, I had a collapsed lung in January or February, I think. I was in hospital for a couple of weeks. Right. And they found a thing on my lung called a bulla. Now, when I was in hospital this time, the surgeon kind of explained it to me. Well, one of his team explained it to me. Right? What it is, like, everybody knows I used to smoke, right? And I had small bullae, if I get the word right, on my lungs from smoking. But up the top there was a massive one. It was about that big, right? And it needed to be operated on pretty swiftly, right? Anyway, he explained it to me that this is something that they normally see. It's an injury that they normally see from somebody who's been involved in a chemical fire. Now, yet again, if you've been with the channel for a while, you know that I was a firefighter for 25 years and had to retire because of the Lyme disease, because it messed with my nervous system, my brain, everything. That was really a nasty dose. I wouldn't wish that one on my worst enemy. While I was supposed to be getting this done in February, or I can't remember if it was January, February. But then I contracted COVID in the hospital. So the other hospital wouldn't take me. Now, the way it works in Ireland is we have hospitals called Centres of Excellence, which means if you want a certain type of operation, you go to a certain hospital. Right? Now, I was in the local hospital here in Kerry, and the Centre of Excellence for the operation I needed is in Cork. So Cork wouldn't take me because I had COVID. So the operation was put off. So then was it November I went missing? Was it October or November? Might have been October. I can't remember anyway. But when I went missing this time, right, my lung had collapsed again. Now, I wasn't actually doing anything either times that my lung collapsed. I was basically sitting down watching telly. Right. So my lung went again. Back into the hospital. And yeah, confirmed the lung was down again. So into the emergency room, and this Australian doctor, I think he was Australian, he was either Australian or New Zealand, was going to put a chest tube in, and he had a look at where they normally put them, kind of, how would you describe it, for somebody who hasn't had one or hasn't seen one. It goes under your armpit on the side of the lung that's down. It's called an intercostal space. Right, now the first time that I'd gone in this year, there had been, let's say, a disagreement between two consultants. Right, when I went in first, the original emergency room doctor had put in what they call a pigtail. Right, it's a small tube, it's a small bore tube, and he put that in as the chest drain. Now, this is the new way of doing it, you see. Right, well, it was at the time, I thought it was the newest way of doing it, but I found out later it wasn't. So he put it in, everything was fine, and it went back up, and then another consultant came down, and he went nuts because of the size of the tube. So he got the doctor who put it in and basically had words with him very loudly in the cubicle with me and my wife. Right, so the consultant who was in charge of the emergency room heard this going on and came in. So basically the two consultants had an argument in the cubicle with me. Right, and I don't know what way consultants work, if one outranks the other or not, I don't know. But the second consultant told the first one to take this pigtail tube out and put a bigger one in. So I was brought back over to the little operating room they have in there. Now, obviously, the consultant was not in a good mood because he basically tore up my side when he was doing it. Man was not in a good mood. And this would be, I had a chest tube in me 30 years ago for another collapsed lung, but that was from trauma. I can tell you straight out, this second one earlier on this year was the most painful one I've ever had in, right? So this is just a lead into what happened this time, right? So anyway, this Australian doctor was going to put the chest tube in, had a look under my arm, and the exact words were, "There's been enough trauma that in the intercostal space, I'm going to use something else." And he sent somebody up to his office for a thing called a rocket valve. Now, a rocket valve, I'll put a link, I don't know if I can show a picture on this or not, but what I'll do is I'll put a link down below to where you can see what a rocket valve is. But what it is it's a small little thing, it's about that size, and it goes on the front of your chest. It goes in about a minute, 60 seconds, if even that, right? And there's no big tube hanging out of you. You don't have to carry around this thing full of water, right? This thing just sits on your chest. So anyway, I got this thing in, and went back up again. Right, so Grant, up to the ward I went. Right, so this time I was not going anywhere until they sent me to Cork. So I was in hospital for 2 weeks waiting for a bed to become available in Cork. So eventually, after 2 weeks, the bed became available in Cork. Now I still had this rocker valve in me, right? So down I went to Cork in the middle of the night. An ambulance transfer. Right? So I arrived in Cork, went into the ward, right? And there was a bit of a kerfuffle, right? Nobody had seen one of these rocket valves before. So there was a few of the nurses came around that evening, have a look at it, that night to have a look at it. And by the next day, word had got around the hospital. So for the next few days, I basically had a queue of doctors, surgeons, nurses coming up to the bed to see this rocket valve and to ask me about it. And I can tell you, from a patient point of view, this thing is fantastic, right? Now I can tell you, when they took it out during the surgery, they didn't even have to stitch where it went into me. The hole is that small, it's a tiny, tiny hole, and it really works very well. So anyway, was in there for a couple of days and was told, right, you're being done in the morning, so you're fasting, right? And then about 1 o'clock in the morning, nurse came to me and says, there's been an emergency, you won't be getting done in the morning, somebody else is getting done. Right, it's an emergency, that's fine. So I was bumped to the next day. So the next day came around, fasting again. That morning, the doctor came up to me, sorry, there's been another emergency, you're bumped again. Right enough, so another emergency, not much you can do about it. So eventually, on the third day, I got to have this operation. Right, so went up, had the operation. The surgeon, who had never seen one of these valves again. Right, the way it works down there is there's 2 rooms when you go up to the operating floor. There's the anaesthetist room and there's the operating theatres. Well, there's 3 or 4 operating theatres. But you never see the inside of an operating theatre because you're put out cold in the anaesthetist room. So, into the anaesthetist room, the surgeon came out of the operating theatre to see this rocket valve in my chest. And that's the last I remember until I woke up. Right? So they had done the operation. Oh, yeah. Because of one of the medications I'm on for the Lyme disease, any painkiller that's opiate based does not work on me. It has no effect at all. So basically I had paracetamol. right? But they did put an epidural in my back, right, and left it there, right? Now the anaesthetist did explain to me that the only thing that I'm going to feel on that was the actual numbing part of it, because he went into great detail with this, because an epidural is made up from basically a numbing part and a load of opiate based painkillers, which of course didn't work. So I got the epidural in me, and that's basically the last I remember until I woke up. Woke up in the recovery room. There was a nurse there with me for about 6 hours, just sitting there with me, just making sure everything was okay before they'd let me back down to the ward. So I went back down to the ward and everything was fine. In a fair bit of pain, especially on my right shoulder, because something I forgot to tell them is some of the nerve damage that was caused by the Lyme disease means I can't put my arms above my head for a long time. And when they were operating on me, they had actually put my arm above my head. So that was the most painful part of it, was my shoulder, to be honest with you. Right. So I had the operation and back down into the ward. Was in there for another week and a half until they could get this. I now had a chest tube in me because the rocket valve wouldn't work because of what they were after doing. And what they did was they went in laparoscopically. It's keyhole surgery. They went in 3 places. One is for a camera, the other's for, and the other 2 are for tools, is what it was explained to me, right? And they went in, they cut this bullet off the top of my lung and stapled my lung closed, then irritated the outside of my lung and the inside of my chest, and put in what's basically sterile talcum powder to irritate the hell out of it, so that my lung would stick to the wall of my chest. In case it collapsed again, or in case it popped again, at least it can't collapse because it's stuck to my chest. Right? And then I was released and I was told that I couldn't do anything until the 20th of January. Right? But my wife said, you're not doing that until your birthday, which is the 22nd of January, which is today. So I was finally allowed back out here, right, and as I said, I'm a bit rusty. Now I want to thank everybody who has sent me good wishes and who were chatting to me on social media and stuff. Thank you very much. I had a very interesting conversation with an American subscriber who doesn't wish to be identified. Fine, I've no problem with it, right? And he said to me, I hope your insurance, I hope you have really good insurance, because that's going to cost you a fortune. And then when I explained this to him, it was shock, right? And he actually came back to me later with a number on what I got done, including all the transfers, the stays in hospital, all of this, what that would have cost in America. And I was shocked. It was a little over $200,000. Now over here we have Board Slanta, which is like it's a health service thing, right? Now we also have these things called medical cards. If you have a chronic condition, or basically there's something wrong with you, or if you can't afford medical care or anything like that, the government give you a medical card. Right? Now there's 2 different types. There's a full medical card, which I have because of the Lyme disease, because it's a chronic condition and I constantly need medication, constantly need to go to the doctors. Right? And the other one is a doctor only, which means you can go and see a doctor, but you have to pay for your medication. Right, all free. Right. So when I told him that I hadn't paid a penny for this whole thing, he was shocked. And then he came back to me with what it would have cost in America. And I was shocked at it. I had heard that healthcare in the States is very expensive. And I've heard some horror stories. I don't know if this kind of stuff is true or if it's just urban legend. Right? I'll tell you one of them, and somebody who's over there, tell me if this is true. That sometimes it has been known that ambulances have brought people to a hospital, and when the hospital finds out they've no insurance, they just tell them to leave. They don't treat them or anything, just tell them to leave. As I said, I don't know if that's true or not. I would hope not. But as I said, I don't know if it's just an urban legend or what. Just a little bit on that. I said, I would hope it is just urban legend. Right, so that's the story of what happened to me. I don't know how long that I was rabbiting there for. But right, I'll get on with this, cleaning it off, and I'll be back when I'm buffing the wax off. So, see you in a minute. Right, just buffing the wax off. So, I hope that enlightened us to what happened to me and where I've been for the last couple of months. As I said, Michelle wouldn't let me come out here. Until the doctor said I could. So that's why I've been missing for so long. And believe me, I was bored. So, there we go. That's what the outside looks like. I'm loving that black there. Right, we flip this around and we get the whole one. I'll be back in a sec. And then first thing we do is face it off. There's quite a few cracks into this. And I'm not cutting all the way around how sharp this gouge is. Mark my width. And start hollowing. This seems to be slightly off on that chuck. There might be a chink in one of the jaws. Rim is not neat. Not a good cut on that rim at all. That's much better. I have to get that edge with sandpaper because it's not happy with that rim. It this choke is definitely off slightly. Right, I have to get the inside of that edge with it. But it's funky there. See it? Just there. It's a little funky. That's going to have to sand out. As I said, I'm quite rusty at the moment. Right then, sand to finish that. Oh, I won't, there's a bump there. Feather it back in. I got it. Right, now, I'll sand to finish the inside of that, and I'll be back in a sec. Right then, just buffing the wax off. And it's alright. I wouldn't get mad about it, as I said. I've kind of lost the rhythm a bit, so I'm a little bit rusty after 2.5 months not going near it. But I do think that there is something up with the jaws on that chuck. I'll have a closer look when I take it off. There it is. I said I do like the black over on this side. That black bit of black running through it. A little bit of brown isn't bad either. Right, take it off, give you a closer look at it, and we'll have a closer look at these chuck jaws. So, back in a sec. Right then, we're on the macro camera having a look at these. Right. You can see there is some chips out of them alright. I'm just trying to feel if there's a bump that would throw it out. Just there. There's a bump just there. That's probably throwing it out. Right, I have a new set of these jaws and I'll stick them on because they are not working properly. Right, now I'll give you a look at this bowl. Right then, here it is, a light coloured Malaysian Acacia bowl. So that's a nice figure over there. Not 100% happy. The bowl's alright, but I wasn't 100% happy with my technique. It was rusty, as I said. So if you enjoyed that one, if you wouldn't mind clicking like on the video. I'm glad to be back. And again, thanks for everybody with the well wishes. And I'll see you in the next one.